What is going on, everyone? Happy Friday. It's Friday for me. I don't know what day or what time this video is going to drop, but it's Friday for me. So happy Friday, right? Anyhow, so I'm going to talk a little bit about an install commission that I completed on a hilt from Nevin over at Space Junk Sabers. So this is for a hilt called it's a KOTOR half, or Knights of the Old Republic half. Nevin has done a couple of hilts titled KOTOR halves before. Some of the same design cues of hilts that he has done before. Namely, this fin up top, the control box. He's done these before as well. Very, very close to the same install that I've done on these in the past. However, the printing material that I've used on this one is a little bit different, right? So I've printed this in PETG carbon fiber, and I've added some accent pixels on the chassis as well, right? So I do want to come into Fusion and talk a little bit about the chassis, and then of course we'll come up top, talk about how to use the hilt, and then we will do a demo, right? So let's come into Fusion. Okay, so here is the chassis, right? So this is an MHS V2 grip hilt. This is actually one of Nevin's signature grips on this hilt. So that being said, it is a relatively thin gripped hilt. Actually, it's only like a 1-inch internal diameter. So that's why you see the chassis really, really thin down here, and then it widens as you get to the upper section of the hilt. So where I married the chassis into that upper section, it's got to get a little bit wider. So this upper section has been secured into the upper section of the hilt with a set screw, right? We've got a tilted Proffie board set up in this one. The Proffie board does peek right up underneath the threads in the hilt. Battery tray is here. I do have Greeblies on one side of the chassis. On the other side, there is a window for a 2020 NeoPixel strip. At the bottom here, so in this particular hilt, the pommel does unscrew, and the pommel is big enough to house a 28mm speaker. So I went with a Speakerpod in this build. So at the bottom of the chassis, I have a Speakerpod, or a speaker pin, a 2-pin speaker pogo setup. This is from Smugglers Outpost. So in order to wire that up, I created a cap down here, wired that up, put the cap in place, and that's it, right? Around back, just some Death Star embossing, and that's it. Really, really relatively simple setup on the chassis, okay? So let's come up top. So here it is. This is the KOTOR half from Nevin over at Space Junk Sabers. So really, really gnarly looking hilt. Obviously, one of the standout characteristics of this hilt is this fin up top, right? But we also have an exposed crystal chamber here. Really, really unique looking control box as well. And then, of course, we've got one of Nevin's signature grips down here, okay? So to get at your chassis, you want to just unthread your grip. Let's talk about that speaker pod as well. So down in here, we also have a speaker pod that just kind of like lives in the pommel. So you can just leave that in the pommel. There's the chassis. Proffie board does sit in here. This is a Proffie V3. There's that chassis. Chassis has been printed in PETG carbon fiber, right? So let's get a battery. So to use your hilt, spring side is your negative. You want to take the flat part of your battery, put it down towards the speaker. You're not going to hear anything because you do not have your speaker connected yet, but you will see that accent strip light, and you will get your control box accents light as well. So these, both of these LEDs are wired independently in the config. So once you get those wired up, you can, well, let's turn this on first. So I've done different animations with each font config on that accent strip. So once you get that turned on, you can thread your grip in place, and you're ready to go.
Death to
All right. So let's come down to the bottom. So there's that exposed crystal chamber. Really, really nice feature of this hilt, along with that grip. So I've said this before. I really, really love these grips that Nevin does. These are great speeder bike grips. In fact, I have one on my personal Koran horn that I did. I just really, really love the feeling of these. I love the MHS V2 like thinness of them. So let's see what else we put on here. Let's put a blade in it. Okay, so 1-inch blade holder. There is a knurled set screw up here that will serve as your blade retention. Just kind of rest your blade on those PCB pins and you're ready to go. So twist to activate, twist to deactivator on. So to the customer, you requested a specific set of fonts, so I was able to put those on here for you. Let's see what else is on here.
I am Juhani.
So this has been set up with it's been set up with color wheel as well. So to access color wheel, you want to hold down aux and tap main. Turn your hilt until you find the color you like, and then tap main again, and it will lock that color in. Let's see what else we got.
I came to warn you, Jedi.
Mercenary.
One more.
Prince Arkan.
It's a nice sounding hilt too. The fact that we can get, like, I love whenever I can get a 28 millimeter speaker when there's an MHS V2 grip, right? So anyhow, that's all I got. That is the KOTOR half from Space Junk Sabers. I also love when we can get blinkies in a control box like that, right? So anyhow, that's it, right? So to the customer, thank you very much for trusting me with your install. If anyone has any questions about this particular install or anything really, please do not be a stranger. And with that being said, may the force be with you always. Have a good one, everybody.